Elmasry is chair of the journalism program at the Doha Institute. He joins us here on set. Good to have you back with us. So tell us a little bit more about this Mustafa Musa guy who's ostensibly challenging Sisi, but not really.
Right. I mean, he's not a serious challenger. All of the serious challengers, as you mentioned in your lead-up, were intimidated into withdrawing or were actually arrested. So he's the guy that's supposed to give sort of a veneer of legitimacy to this election, but he's just a token figure. Up until mid-January, he was actually campaigning on Sisi's behalf. On the day that he announced his candidacy, his Facebook profile picture was a picture of Abdel Fattah al-Sisi with the phrase, we love you and we support you, or something to that effect written underneath. So he's not a serious candidate. He doesn't have any chance to win. All of the media support Sisi. It's a completely singular media narrative, media propaganda. Thousands and thousands of posters of Sisi all across Egypt, almost none of Musa.
So given that the win is all but assured, it's the turnout numbers, isn't it, that Sisi is going to be looking at, and we'll see whether or not it legitimizes his victory. What have they been doing, what's Sisi been doing to try to encourage people to come out and vote?
Right. It's interesting because the situation sort of mirrors the 2014 election. The government was terrified at that time of a low turnout. They threatened people with fines. They gave people free transportation to the polls. They extended voting by a day. This time around, there are reports from the Guardian's foreign correspondent who's in Cairo that they've been offering payment to people to go vote, £100 to poor Egyptians if they go to the polls, and in some cases offering people food rations if they can show proof that they've voted in the form of a pink stain or ink stain on their finger.
I mean, when you talk about food rations and you talk about 100 Egyptian pounds, I take it.
Right.
You know, it just shows, doesn't it, just how many people are in poverty and how dire the economy is. And this is something that Sisi said he was supposed to be fixing.
Right. I mean, his major economic projects have unfortunately failed, and Egypt is suffering from skyrocketing inflation, which has really harmed the middle and lower classes. The cost of goods has increased dramatically. Meanwhile, salaries have only increased incrementally. So life is very difficult for the average Egyptian, and as you mentioned, there is acute poverty. It's widespread in Egypt.
Why do so many Egyptians then still support the strongman image? They still support Sisi?
That's probably a question better left to psychologists, frankly.
Right.
But, you know, I think we shouldn't overestimate his support. I mean, we don't have any scientific polling coming out of Egypt right now. Pew and Zogby Research Associates last did polls in Egypt at the end of 2013. Even at that time, at the height of his popularity, he was only supported by about half of Egyptians. So I'm pretty sure that the numbers have gone down pretty dramatically, but we don't know. We don't have any way of knowing because there are no data available.
No, and we might not find out from this election either. Mohamad Elmasry, thanks very much for coming in.